Hey everyone, it's Christian B., Burnaby, Vancouver-based real estate agent. Welcome to Rapid Fire Real Estate, where today I want to take you through 7 pieces of timeless advice for you real estate investors. I think you're going to find this very helpful. These are nuggets that I've gleaned in my 10 years in the business, but also in the tens of thousands of hours I've spent reading, I've spent interviewing and on the phone with numerous mortgage brokers, investors, and many people who've come before me. So that's what I'm going to take you through. These 7 pieces of timeless advice will carry on, and they will be as relevant 20, 50 years from now as they are today. So let's kick it off with that. Number 1, you make money the day you buy the property, not the day you sell it. Okay, so let's get into what this means. 1, yes, you make money if you can negotiate a 2-bedroom condo from $700,000 down to $650,000 because you build in a margin of safety, right? If we know that all the other 2 bedrooms have been selling at $700,000 plus, and you snag one at $650,000, there's your margin of safety. You know you've got room to grow. Another reason that may be is you're buying in a slower market. Maybe you're buying in November or December, the off season in real estate. Maybe you're buying during the coronavirus period. All slumps in the BC real estate market, and certainly here in the Lower Mainland, and sellers were giving some properties away. I want to give you an example here. I helped a couple buy a townhouse in November of 2020 over in Queensborough. Queensborough was not the sexiest neighborhood, as you know. There's a bridge to cross over it. It's being redeveloped. Used to be a lot of, car mechanic shops, light industrial, and so on. But these days, you're seeing a lot of townhouse complexes being developed, master planned on the island. We got a townhouse for, it was listed $650, negotiated it down to about $630, and this is November 2020. And lo and behold, about 3 years later, sold it for more than $250,000. People laugh at Queensborough and say, well, I'd never go there. But there's money to be made if you're buying at the right time. Now, the second example here, though, carries on to the detached market, because it's not just townhouses, it's detached as well. Same thing. Early 2020, pre-coronavirus, snagged during a slow, sluggish market, helped a couple buy a detached house for just a little over $1.2 million in Burnaby, very close to the BCIT area. So during down markets, you can, even if you're buying at a fair price, you've got room to grow. That's what I'm driving at here. You make money the day you buy it, not when you sell it. Number 2, buy the worst house in the best neighborhood, not the best house in the worst neighborhood. Okay, what do I mean by that? So here's a mini case study. If you were to take Vancouver's west side, and I'm taking the neighborhood called Dunbar, that's the closest to Pacific Spirit Park. What do you think the average home price was in the year 2000, in the fall of 2000? Average home price would have been just a little over $600,000. For sold listings there. Let's go to New West. New West is a fine area. Let's go to one of the best neighborhoods in New West, in my opinion, which is Queen's Park, which is just west of Queen's Park. And the average home price there in the year 2000 in the fall would have been for $380,000. Now, fast forward a quarter century later until today, and what's the average home price in Dunbar? Well, this fall, the average home price was a little over $3.3 million, and the average home price in Queen's Park was $2.1 million. Still pretty damn good, right? I mean, you're over $2 million in New West. But the point here is you can see that if you had the ability in the year 2000 to stretch up to $600,000, it made a lot more sense to buy on the west side in Vancouver, because now you're walking away with an extra $1 million in your pocket if it's been your principal residence all along the way. And remember, here in Canada, if you're new to Canada, the big bone the tax man throws you here is that they do not tax your principal residence, okay? So that's an example. Again, buy the best house in the worst neighborhood, not the worst. Buy the worst house in the best neighborhood, and not the best house in the worst neighborhood. Okay, number 3, don't wait to buy. Buy and wait. This is very self-explanatory. The longer you're in the market, the bigger favor you're doing for yourself. I recall reading that 94% of self-made millionaires in the greater Vancouver area became self-made millionaires by holding real estate for the long run. That's right. They didn't own a business. They didn't get there through their jobs. Christy, kindergarten teacher, and Peter Plummer bought their own principal residence 25 years ago. And of course, in the example I just gave you, now, today, they're self-made millionaires, and they can take that money and give that to their kids for education. They can take that money out to pay for hospital bills for families back home, or for the gifting down payment money to their kids today here in the local mainland. And again, the point is that the longer you are in the market, the better you're going to be here. So don't wait to buy and then wait. Number 4. Where people go, markets grow. Very important point. This is why home price, a detached house in Edmonton might cost you $500,000 to $600,000, whereas in Vancouver it costs you $2 to $3 million. What's happened with the population? People leave Edmonton and they come to Vancouver. It's that simple. People leave Fort McMurray, especially after the oil. The price of oil plummeted during the financial crisis, or just thereafter, 2009, 2010, and so on. And that's why the prices plummeted. So look at areas that are growing in population, and those are big centers. Those are desirable locations because of lifestyle. Vancouver tops the list here in Canada. It's the reason why I call it the California of Canada. The climate is very mild. Even today, for example, we've got a nice mild day outside. Whereas 90% of Canada, they're freezing their butts off, right? So where people go, markets grow. Remember that. 5, buy when others are fearful. This is easier said than done. And simply, the best recent example we have of this is the coronavirus. When the coronavirus hit, the province locked down, I think it was March 17th of 2020. Don't quote me on the exact date, but it was definitely March of 2020. And I remember looking at scenes at Robson and Burrard, our sort of shopping main district, where stores were boarded up. I thought I was looking at photos in my textbook of the Great Depression of the 1930s. It did not look like a first world city. And people were scared. And if you bought real estate during 2020, boy, oh boy, did you do well. Give yourself a pat on the back. And I give you an example. I mean, that couple I referred to buying a townhouse on Queensboro for something like $630 and selling it for $250,000 later. That also applied to condos. You could have picked up a nice 1-bedroom in Surrey, and I think I recall helping a couple pick up a bedroom for $395. Nice 2-bedroom and a good strata in Surrey for $395. And folks, it's not because I'm a brilliant realtor. It's just because everyone was scared at the time. Buyers were fearful. They were on the sidelines. They thought, I don't want to share an elevator and hallways with people who might have the virus. Condos were dead at the time. And if you can flip a switch with your own psychology and drink your courage juice and get out there and buy when others are scared, boy, you're doing yourself a real favor. You don't even have to negotiate that hard. In that instance, we were just the first ones to get to the property and the first ones to step up with an offer. And that couple is doing, that home is probably, I would say, $200,000 more today than when they purchased it. There's other examples of this as well here from my past, and this applied to pre-sales, whether it was in Burnaby or in Surrey. Again, I'm just looking at my past client list. who bought during that coronavirus period, which I refer to as 2020, March to the end of 2020. And even the condos there, a 3-bedroom pre-sale, and then another one would be worth $100,000 more today than when they bought it, despite the fact that the market is slower for condos today. Because there's that built-in margin of safety when you're buying when others are scared. It's Warren Buffett's number one piece of advice to investors is just buy when others are scared, and when others are scared, be careful. That's when when others are not scared, that's when you want to be careful. I'm mangling that a little bit. Number 6, cash flow is king. If you're buying specifically to invest, you're buying a home because you want to treat it as a rental property, not as a principal residence, then you want to have cash flow ideally. Very hard to do in the big cities in North America, especially Vancouver, where prices are so high with mortgage rates higher. And the challenge here is that you're probably not going to get cash flow, and I don't blame you if you look to places like Edmonton, Alberta, or Calgary, or somewhere in the prairies, or maybe you're looking down south, Phoenix and Las Vegas, where home prices are low and people have higher incomes. And the one thing Vancouver has going for it here is the fact that we have such a growth in the population, and what that does is it drives prices higher because supply can't keep up. And cash flow is definitely king if you're an investor. Well, we do have appreciation going for us. The opposite example of this is Detroit, right? Where you can buy a house today and you're going to sell it for the same price that you bought it for 10, 15 years ago. And you do get cash flow. You may not have the best tenants, but that's really something that you would have to do your research on and do more digging. But ideally, if you're buying an investment property, cash flow is king, because your tenants are going to pay your mortgage down for you. It's called rent for them, but it's called, obviously you're paying your future self there as you go. Last, and number 7, this is the simplest piece of advice I can give to investor owners right now, is sell your tenanted property vacant. This is such a simple, easy thing to do. It's called a mutual agreement to end tenancy. What you do is you sit down with your tenant, you talk to them, explain that you're selling, or you have your agent do it. Often I'll do it on behalf of my client or with my clients. It doesn't really matter. And the tenant's going to see the writing on the wall. Most people are reasonable, and they're going to take active steps to find themselves another property. And what they do is they move out. Now, sometimes you can negotiate that up in advance, be fair with them, maybe throw them a couple of bones. Maybe you pay for their moving. Maybe you make it worthwhile by giving them $1,000 or $2,000 as a bonus to move out. It's really up to you. But boy, having unfettered access to a vacant property and then being able to maybe fix it up, paint it, stage it, the amount of time and effort that goes into it and the money is very minimal to the return that you get on that effort and that paint job. It's just incredible. When people don't do that, it blows my mind. I mean, it's literally leaving $30,000, $40,000 on the table. A lot of investor owners, they just don't see that. They're often in the frame of mind where I'll just let it go. I don't know why you'd want to let it go. Even your agent can handle a lot of these things. I help my clients with a lot of those steps, whether it's getting a handyman in there or having someone come in there and paint it. But boy, oh boy, the return on investment is just so worth it. Anyway, those are the 7. So again, sell your property vacant. You don't want it tied to a tenant who's paying $500 below market rent, and now the next buyer has to be an end user, because another investor is not going to want to buy your tenant, right? It's as simple as that. So if you found this helpful, give us a thumbs up, subscribe. We love having you, and welcome to all our new subscribers. Now we're knocking on the door here of 1,000, and if you got any comments, opinions, leave those in the show notes below, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.